In this video, I'm going to talk about why most traders can make £1,000 but not £100,000. Stay tuned. Hey traders, a very warm welcome to you. So, why is it the case that many traders out there can make £1,000 relatively easily but not £100,000, and that could be euros, it could be dollars, whatever it is. Happens to be in the UK here, so we use GBP. So why is that the case? Why is it not people making 100,000, much more frequently than there are people making £1,000? Well, here's my opinion on it, and as always, comment section below for your thoughts on this topic. So I see a lot of guys, new traders make £1,000 relatively quickly, will lose it again, maybe they'll make 2,000, will go back to 1,000, and they're always kind of just making a bit, losing a bit, making a bit back. This is generally what I see a lot of people doing. And imagine if that's the zero line there. And if that's familiar with, if that's similar to your kind of P&L chart, you're probably in the majority of people. That was probably my P&L chart when I first started. Actually, you know what? That wasn't my P&L chart when I first started. My P&L chart when I first started was more like that. That was pretty much my P&L chart. But most people kind of do this. Maybe it's slightly slanted down so they're losing a bit more, but they kind of make 1,000, lose a bit, make 1,000, lose a bit. Why isn't that 100,000? Why is that 1,000 instead of 100k? Well, the reason, of course, the obvious reason is the people's account size. People are trading with, £1 a point, £5 a point, £10 a point, £20 a point for spread betting, equivalent for CFDs, equivalent for futures. It's very hard to make £100,000 on a small size, because even if you're a great trader, you've got to have the big moves and all that kind of stuff. But there's something more fundamental about that. Hasn't rubbed out very well, has it? But I'm sure we can still see it. There's something more fundamental about that, guys, and that is people's focus on the money instead of the process. And we've mentioned this many times before, and that this is something that I've talked about. If you're seasoned to this channel and you've seen some more videos from me, if you're not, then consider subscribing for kind of videos about that sort of topic. But people are focusing on the money. They say, oh, I'm up £100 on this trade, I'm up £200 on this trade, £800, I'm up £1,000 on the week. And of course, that's how we benchmark traders. It's how much money they're making. But in reality, we need to shift it. We need to shift the focus, from the money to the process. And that is how you go from making small amounts of money to making large amounts of money if you've got a smaller account. Now, obviously, if you're starting out with a £100,000 account, and your net worth is relatively high, so £100,000 is meaningless to you, then you're probably going to have the same kind of pattern as someone who trades when £1,000 becomes less meaningful to you. So there is that, obviously, where you sit in society with your net worth and how much you consider £100,000 to be. Most people, £100,000 is a reasonable amount of money. They can't just throw it away. £1,000 is kind of the thing where no one's going to throw £1,000 away, but they're prepared to have a go with trading with that. So putting that to one side, let's go and say, well, how can the average person who normally would be making 1,000 move themselves up to 100,000? Okay, so focus on the money, not the process. That's the big thing. And you notice guys who go from low amounts of money to large amounts of money is that they don't think about how much they're making or how much they're losing. Yes, they calculate how much they're going to lose because they have to manage the risk. But when they're in the trade, majority of people are saying, that's my mortgage paid, that's a big TV, that's a car payment, that's a this, that's a that, that's the other, that's the other. And they're anchoring what their performance is based on material things or how much value that is in the real world, if you like, pretending that trading is not the real world and the digital world of trading, and then what that actually means in the real world. And of course, it changes the psychology. If they're in a trade and they say, oh, there's my mortgage payment, or there's a small family hatchback I've just made in that, then they're going to want to take the money off the table because it's more meaningful to them. Whereas people who focus solely on the process, solely on saying, hey, you know what, it's irrelevant how much I'm making in this trade. It's irrelevant. All I need to know is, am I sticking with my trading plan? Has this trade got more to run? Am I going to take my stop loss out? Am I adding to the trade? How am I managing the trade? All the kind of operations style decisions you have to make as a trader, rather than how much is that now, or how much if it pulls back to a level. That's the worst thing you can do, isn't it? You're holding on to the trade, and then you say, well, if it pulls back to my stop loss, I'm giving back 2 monthly mortgage payments, or whatever it may be, 2 42-inch TVs, whatever it may be. The point is you're anchoring it to something meaningful, and that's just going to change your mental state. Which is why, guys, actually, people who trade in prop firms and that kind of environment are able to scale up, because if they have the skill and they demonstrate the skill and they demonstrate profitability, they are given more money and they're told to, hey, instead of trading 10 lot, you're now trading 20 lot, 200 lot, 2,000 lot, whatever it may be. And then they're kind of it's forced onto them. It's say, listen, you will trade this size. We want you to trade this size. We want you to trade this size. And it's an easier transition for them, because part of it is obviously the prop firm's money, so the loss isn't there, and so it makes it easier. Whereas for most of us who are trading kind of retail, our own money, our own savings, our own capital, that becomes more challenging. And I've mentioned this in a previous video, but I want to briefly mention it now. If you're scaling up your trades, if you're trying to get from one to making like 1,000, losing it to the bigger numbers, you obviously have to increase your position size and increase you can either change your strategies, one way of doing it, where you can kind of look for bigger moves, but increasing position size is an easier way of doing it, because you're using the strategy that you know and proven to be working for you. So you get to a point where you increase your position size, and then it becomes painful. There's like a pain zone where you say, actually, you know what, £100 a point, I've got a 15-point stop, assuming you're day trading, £1,500, that's a little bit too much for me. So you back it off. Where's the level where you feel comfortable losing money? 700, okay, £600, okay, I'm happy with that level, whatever that level may be. £60, 6,000, doesn't matter. Point is, you back it off till you feel comfortable, and then you trade at that level for a bit. You try and stretch it and stretch it and stretch it, but it's like a binary event. You get to a point where your position size hits that level, and then you're in discomfort. That's like pain area, because all of a sudden you're changing the way you're thinking about it. So most traders can make 1,000, but not 100,000, because they're focused on the money and not the process. They're anchoring themselves and saying, hey, I'm up 1,000, I'm up 2,000 this month, and they start to feel a little bit anxious, and they start to feel overconfident or whatever it may be. And instead of focusing on the next trade, managing my risk, doing this, doing that, the money takes over. The money comes back, and it brings them back into, again, anchoring it with the real world. And this just causes, it's just not a conducive way of trading. It's not a way that you can season your mind. That any of the very best traders in the world, final thing, guys, any of the very best traders in the world who are making serious cash are completely removed from the money. You've got to. If you're thinking about guys who are swinging around billions and they're moving multi-million pound P&L in a day, they can't be saying, oh, that's my house, that's this, that's that. They can't be doing that. They have to be completely removed and just understand that over time it will work out in the wash, as long as they have their risk managed and they know that they're not going to kill themselves completely in terms of account value. They know that ultimately over time the process will play out, and they'll make money or they'll lose money. So focus on the process, guys. That's the way to kind of go from that zone to that zone. A little bit more complicated in terms of if we're going to increase our position size, but that's a really good start. And if you can get that down and nail that down, you'll see significant improvements. All right, guys, take care. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.